Hey everyone, it's BlueLizardJello, and welcome back to another episode of Everything Possible here in Dark Souls 2, and today we're going to tackle Brightstone Cove Tseldora. Now just to give you guys a heads up, in case you have someplace to be, this episode is going to be a little bit longer. It actually runs just shy of 35 minutes, and the reason we're going to have it that long is because Brightstone Cove Tseldora has a lot of items and a lot of paths that you need to take in order to get everything, and I didn't want to cut it in a way that could leave the paths confusing. So here we are trying to scope this jerk of a crystal lizard who escaped us at the end of the last episode. And it certainly can be done, as I just proved. You just have to be careful to make sure that you get the beam or whatever you're using right through those two door frames. And you did see that I got 3 large Titanite Shards and a raw stone for my troubles. Why did I kill this unsuspecting Gyrm? For his Gyrm Gloves, I guess. Again, going with the whole Dumb and Dumber theme that we've been running, it's always good to have backups. And actually, that was a unique one. We didn't actually get the Warrior Gloves this time. It was the regular gloves, so, you know, it was worth it. And I'll write a letter to his wife and kids. Another great shield, and we got ourselves a Titanite Chunk. This is a really good area, or rather, the Doors of Pharos is a really good area to farm for upgrade stones and infusion stones. Just stack some item discovery gear, and you will be swimming in it in no time. But now for the bread and butter, Brightstone Cove Tseldora. You have the Radiant Lifegem on the left, in the pots to the right there is nothing, so don't worry about it. If you just want to channel your inner link and destroy all the pots anyway, hey, I'm not going to stop you. We are going to rush right to the bonfire and light it so we can actually attune some spells. Because we are going to be using Soul Appease on the Prowling Magus and the Congregation. Well, the Congregation, it doesn't actually work on the Magus himself. But you'll see that in a little bit. Now, do not underestimate these peasant farmers. Their dark infused weapons do massive amounts of damage, as you can see, if they connect. And that wasn't even actually an ideal hit. Had he been a little bit further away and hit me just with the blade of the weapon, it would have done even more. Interrupt this guy during his farming. And we have 3 souls of a Nameless soldier and a soul of a proud knight scattered amongst these corpses. And then there's going to be a quick transition, because something that you want to make sure you've done before you come here, and that's you want to talk to Benhart of Jugo after you freed Rosabeth from her petrification. Once you've done that, you can learn the Joy Gesture, as well as he will be summonable for fights later on, including the Prowling Magus and the Congregation. And this is where you can find him. I am going to summon him now. He'll help me along the way. However, if you need help with this boss, please see me after class. We have 15 lacerating arrows, and we have a peasant up here who will hop down, unless we just deal with him now. You can also knock out that platform from underneath him if you just want to see the world burn. And these pigs hold a secret later on, and we're going to see that later. I'm not going to really go into it now, just stick around to the end of the video, and you'll see what I mean. But for now, they're a nuisance, and they have to die. Thank you, Benhart. With those done, I can knock out these pots, grab ourselves another large soul of a Nameless soldier, and then we're going to run over to the well. And on the side of the well is a Titanite Shard. And now you can knock off this platform. I typically use some sort of overhead. The R2 on this mace worked rather well. Eventually, there it is. This makes jumping into the well a lot easier. It is possible while leaving the canopy up, but it's a lot harder. But now, we can run up here, line ourselves up, and like most of the other jumps we've done, we can just sprint off and don't need to worry about jumping or rolling. Some holy water urns at the bottom, and then we're going to climb up. And hiding in this wooden chest, we have 5 human effigies. So this area is now clear of items. It's time to move on and scale the cliffs. And you can already see it from here, there are 2 traps. So there are 2 boulders being held up by some wooden supports, and those supports will be broken by the peasants on top when we get nearby. The first one, I guess he stood a little bit too close. I probably would have backed up if that was my job. We do have a soul item here. We're going to snipe a few of these because we don't want Benhart to rush forward and get hit by this boulder, as he is wont to do. I'd like to point out that that lightning bolt did just go through his legs. And that is one of the few times in Dark Souls 2 that you can say the hitbox is really darn accurate. A bit too accurate for my liking. Now this peasant is not as dumb as the last one, so he isn't going to just kill himself for us. I have no problem taking care of it for him though. And we have a Soul of a Brave Warrior. Benhart has dispatched of the last one for us, so now we can hop down. Grab ourselves a torch. And this one actually dropped a Titanite Chunk for us, so if you want to farm for some chunks, this could work out for you. Although they do have a number of items that they can drop, so be prepared to stock up on a lot of torches and a lot of Peasant Attire before you get very many chunks. There was a large Titanite Shard hiding in that corner. We have 3 more peasants to deal with before we actually enter the beginning of the cathedral, which is accurately marked with a pair of spiders. Not only are there a lot of spider enemies in this area in general, as I'm sure you all know, the master of this area is the Duke's Steer Freya, who is a large double-headed spider. Another torch. We did get the Peasant Attire, so if we want to roleplay some farming action, it'll go well actually with the item that we get at the end of the video, now that I think about it. Now in this room, we have a very obvious chest in the middle, and somewhat less obvious holes in the wall that contain spiders. Now what I did was I aggroed the spiders. The other option would be to not aggro the spiders, and you could run through the room, no harm, no foul. The other option would be to just run for the chest, open it up, and it is a unique trap chest that causes all the enemies to actually aggro on you. It is just an audible trap that will cause the spiders to aggro. It doesn't actually cause you any damage. This I learned after rolling away like a maniac away from it. But you can hear that humming sound, that will draw the spiders in. And hooray, we have 20 heavy bolts. Now, coming through this door, run straight ahead and activate an illusory wall here. We run up the stairs, and hanging out in one of the windows is a corpse containing another Estus Flask Shard. By the way, the urn that we just ran past, as well as the urns around the boss room, do not roll through them. They are filled with water, and unlike being beneficial in the Iron Keep, they are detrimental here because the enemies inside use lightning, or at least 2 of them do, and you will take significantly more lightning damage if you are wet. So we're going to avoid this first attack, and now we're going to use Soul Appease, which does work very well against this boss, especially when they're trying to heal. And even when the Magus actually uses his Wrath of Gods type spell, the damage is negligible, and we still knocked out the majority of his congregation very quickly. Benhart will take care of those for me, while I just 2-shot the Magus. Mine is this guy. And FromSoft was actually smart enough to realize that this is not a boss in the true sense of the nature, so they don't even give you a boss soul, they just give you a Titanite Slab for your troubles. Climbing up here, we meet our good friend Cromwell the Pardoner, who is very important to get to know if you're going to sin a lot in this game. But meanwhile, we'll grab some Fading Souls, we'll grab a Skeptic Spice, we'll grab a Cleric Small Shield, which can parry spells, and we'll get ourselves a Bonfire Ascetic. Now, I talked to Cromwell to see what he has to offer as a merchant. However, I neglected to actually use the talk option, and if you have more than 35 faith, he will actually give you the Ring of Resistance. And the Ring of Resistance gives you resistance to poison, bleed, petrification, and curses. So as far as resistance rings go, this one is probably the best that the game has to offer because of the wide array of inflictions that it actually protects against. And just taking a look at the very many branching paths that Brightstone Cove Tseldora has to offer. Now I can tell you right now, I have come up with a route or routes that will allow you to get every item in 4 passes. I unfortunately, due to a mishap, have to do 5 passes, but I will cut out any unnecessary runbacks or warping that I have to. But before we go too far, we'll grab ourselves this Soul of a Proud Knight, and now we're actually going to transition to the Forked Road in the Shaded Woods, because we have someone we need to talk to in order to get the Pate and Creighton quest to continue in Brightstone Cove, or actually conclude in Brightstone Cove Tseldora. So you do have to talk to him again, you have to exhaust his dialogue, you have to have also have exhausted Pate's dialogue in both the Forest of Fallen Giants and Earthen Peak. So now that we've talked to him, we're back. We have some wilted dust herbs to pick up, and there's a crystal lizard immediately to our left. Now, take care, because here's what happens if you're not careful. You kill him, and then you die. Now that crystal lizard will drop a petrified dragon bone and a Titanite Shard. Unfortunately, because I killed him and then died, that item, or those items, are now gone to me forever. So please be careful when you're taking out that crystal lizard. That's my public service announcement for today. The tracking capability of their spell is, well, frankly, it almost beats those in the Shrine of Amana. Granted, these are a little bit slower. We're going to hop down to where this crystal lizard was, and we try to take out this crystal lizard down at the bottom. However, it's a troll crystal lizard. I know that. Hopefully you knew that. Don't get close to them or else they explode and do some pretty massive damage. Not to mention, even if it doesn't kill you with the damage, it's probably going to knock you back into that sand funnel and kill you there. Just let him disappear on his own. Now very carefully, you want to position yourself on this pillar and walk slowly at an angle to the right until you drop, and you can land here, and inside you have a large Titanite Shard. Again, being very careful, get back out onto this ledge, face the other pillar. You want to actually face slightly to the right of it. It's hard because, you know, we have a big Jester's hat on. Our head would be in the way anyway. But you can run and jump at the last second. I promise you can. To get on this ledge, where we have a Titanite Chunk and a Twinkling Titanite. Hop down, get ready for the Basilisk, who have comedically small mouths, if you haven't paid attention. I thought he was going to die, and that is the closest to being petrified that I've come in Dark Souls 2. So history was almost made here today, folks. I knew there was nothing in it, but I did it. I mean, I don't have any excuses. Getting close to that item does trigger a few spiders to spawn, so you might want to backtrack and shoot a couple of spells over them, around them, underneath them, and then eventually kill them. And behind them is a petrified dragon bone. You can see me seeing if that spider's gonna hop down. Turns out he wasn't, but I made him. I don't know why, but it's so very satisfying to punch a spider or any enemy to death with that chime. It rings. It rings this little bell just as you kill him, and it's so fun. A couple of items hiding here in the room with Ornifex. We have ourselves a Flame Butterfly and a Ferrous Lockstone. And Ornifex, if you remember, we saved her from the Shaded Ruins using the Fang Key, and now, because she's so grateful, if we wanted, we can actually trade in 1 boss soul to her for free. I don't take her up on that offer just yet because I only have 1 boss soul that she will actually trade for an item, so I want to hold off until I have some other choices. We will pick up some amber herbs and some green blossoms just because, and that's about it for Ornifex. So her and Strayed do not overlap with the boss weapons and items that they will trade for. Some of the souls overlap, but not the items themselves. So if you want to get everything, you will need multiple copies of some of the boss souls, and you will need to visit both Ornifex and Strayed. Take out the Hollow Mage, watch out for the spider. And a very common theme in Tseldora is that there are items and rooms hidden behind bookshelves and other wooden structures, so you can just knock your way through them. And inside this iron chest, we have a Crescent Axe and Soul Vortex. Soul Vortex is a sorcery that we already have. Crescent Axe, however, is an axe-type weapon that has innate magic damage. Titanite Chunk for our troubles. And now we are in the next section of Brightstone Cove. And if you're not careful, if you rush this area, you can get surrounded very easily by basilisks, by spiders, by these infected, undead, spider on their back enemies. Working title. But as long as you're cautious, you should be just fine. Prism Stone. I forgot to mention earlier, you saw me pick up 2 Parrying Daggers in a row from the spiders. They can drop many different items. So if you're looking for a particular item and you haven't been able to get it where it's normally found, you may be able to get the spiders to drop it. Just be warned, you're going to get a lot of useless items before you get the one you actually want, typically. Go inside the room that previously just held the spiders, run upstairs. Even though I've been through here probably a couple dozen times at this point, I still check behind every bookshelf. And get ourselves a large Titanite Shard, and of course you can see the Black Phantom Peasant that we'll be fighting in just a moment. Very interesting set of gear. He holds a pickaxe as his weapon, and his shield is the Porcine Shield, the pig shield that we picked up in Iron Keep. And this is really the only clue that From actually gave us as far as how to find the item that we'll find at the end of the video. Now this Phantom does have very little to no poise, so taking him out with even some weaker spells is really not difficult, provided you have these spells to actually take him out. And with him done, we are going to take care of this door. Now, if we were to go up to the door and try to open it, it would tell us that it's too heavy for us to open it by hands. Hi guys. So what you can do is use any sort of range attacks. You can use arrows, you can use bolts, you can use throwing knives, or you can use spells to open it up. And watch what happens when you do. It's a good thing that we're not standing close. That explosion of sand is actually very dangerous. At the health that we're at now, it most likely would have one-shotted us. By the way, I like their touch that they added footprints in the sand. I would like to see more of those little details later on. However, we can't go any further. We will have to come back after we complete the Pate and Creighton storyline so we can actually open that up and get the treasure that's inside. Falling off the bridge into those crystals, while not terribly damaging to your HP, it does degrade your equipment, so caution, stay on the bridge. I don't know why you wouldn't. Look at it. It's not a mini Christmas tree farm. Those are crystals that'll hurt. We have another large Titanite Shard, and there's also an item up there that if you can figure out how I can get up there to get it, I will go back and I will get that item. It's not there anymore, but it's the principle of the thing. Obvious ambush is obvious, so we'll start taking out these guys before they even drop down on us. Now you can see that they do some significant damage. Granted, I'm not wearing the most defensive armor. Just be careful, especially with the actual hollows that have the spiders on their backs. They have an attack that if they initiate the attack while you kill it, the attack will continue through death and can take you out. Soul of a Hero and 4 gold pine resins hiding behind that pew. Here's another door that we can't get into. We will not be getting those items in this episode because you have to get a key after we've taken out the Duke's Dear Freya. 3 Homer Bones here, and then if we go to the other side and pull that switch, we have an infected hollow hiding behind and a ladder to proceed with the level. I had a feeling that there was an item hiding in these pots. Last pot standing. Nothing funny to say about that. Sorry. I was racking my brain just now. Alright, once we hop down there, there is no going back. And we're not going to go fight Freya just yet. So, we're going to get all the items here, then we're going to homeward bone back, and we will take route number 2. Now, this is the longest route that I will be taking through Brightstone Cove Tseldora, simply because I decided this would be the one that I use to go all the way to the boss room. All the other ones will be much shorter. Torch hiding behind this pillar, which is a trap. Make sure you get out of the way quickly. That was a good dodge. I'll give him that. There's a random bandit axe that dropped just because. Ferris Lockstone hiding in this spot. Now there are a few different ways you can take to get down to the actual base level. Here's one of them. By the way, you do walk very slowly on the web, so keep that in mind just in case you find yourself surrounded. Rolling is going to be your friend here. Radiant Lifegem hanging out on this corpse. And you could already see the item directly underneath, but there are quite a few spiders once you're down here, so make sure you're clearing the area before you just rush to any items. But with that out of the way, we grab ourselves a Simpleton Spice. So we did get a Skeptic Spice earlier by Cromwell, now we get a Simpleton's. By the way, this is a pretty atmospheric area in my opinion. Everything is covered in webs, and if you look carefully, there's corpses. Just piles of bodies everywhere. Some corrosive urns, and then hiding behind one of these other pillars, we have Ashen Night Void. Ashen Night Void is not going to do very much damage. However, if you can take care of the small spiders in the boss room, then Ashen Night Void can actually make a decent tank and keep the attention of Freya, while you can just attack the other head almost without consequence. And we will be seeing that in the next episode, which is the episode we will finally be taking out all 4 of the Great Ones at the same time. By the way, technically, Freya is not a Great One, and we'll see that in the next episode anyway. The last item in this area is a Twilight Herb, so now we will use a Homeward Bone, we'll get out of here, and we'll start route number 2. So, for route number 2, we are going to go in this door here, and we're going to meet a couple of familiar faces. Yes, that is Pate and that is Creighton going head to head in their final confrontation, and one of them is going to die. We are going to help Pate, and we're going to take out Creighton because we already have Pate's gear that he gifted us in the Earthen Peak, so we don't have any need for it. But by killing Creighton, we can get his mask as a drop now, and then we can head back to Majula and talk to Melentia, who will sell the rest of his armor. Here's another tip. If you just leave them to their own devices, one eventually will win, and you will not get the Tseldora Den key that we're going to get after killing one of them. And that's how we get into that room we saw earlier. So make sure you pick a side, and you stick with it. There may be a better, more logical way of choosing which one to take out. I just picked the one that was going to give me the most stuff. We have 3 charcoal pine resins. There's Creighton's mask. And now we talk to Pate, and we will get the Den key so we can continue on. A very cool item in my opinion, as well as Pate will get one more chance to try to take us out. If you think that Pate is unlike Patches and he's a good guy, you are mistaken. I'm not saying that Creighton wasn't a bad guy as well, but Pate's a jerk. Every time we meet him, this is the 3rd time now, he's going to send us into an area that could possibly and very likely get us killed, and when we're not killed, he acts surprised. He hides his disappointment well, but he acts surprised. And here on the right we have a torch. And you can actually hear the crystal lizard right now, but there is going to be a crystal lizard. So when we open this door, we're going to take out this hollow. Then he's going to be right on the right, so we're going to be quick. And I was fortunate to get this crystal lizard, because there's one, there's two, and finally there's three. And unfortunately I dropped down. Ideally I would have killed them, and then I would have picked up an item that's still up top there, but we'll still get that. 2 large Titanite shards and a twinkling Titanite. And before you hop down, see, there's the item that I missed. We have 3 hollow infecteds in here that we'll take out. Pretty easy when they're sleeping. I have found my enemies are a lot easier to deal with when they're sleeping. Tseldora cap, which we're actually going to put on for now. It doesn't increase your item find, but it does increase the number of souls that you can actually acquire. In fact, every piece of the Tseldora set, which these guys can drop all 4 pieces, will increase the number of souls that you can get. Now to me this is a useless area. They have this door to the outside, and I guess you could use it to go back to the previous area, but I don't know why you would want to. Some dark trophies from that Hollow Mage. They can drop their Hollow Mage set if you want it. Just the aiming and the tracking is so good. Hiding behind some bookshelves again is a lever. We pull that, it'll lower a platform, which holds an iron chest, which contains a very valuable ring for us casters. And in order to get it, I like to get a running jump before you're quite at the top of the stairs, and inside you get the Southern Ritual Band +1. Now we already have the regular version. This ring, however, will actually give us 2 free attunement slots at the small cost of 1 ring slot. So from here we'll hop down, we'll take care of just a couple of enemies, and then we can go check out Pate's Tseldora Den, where he hides some of his gear. Raw stone from this basilisk, and I'm sure if we ask nicely, this basilisk might give us one too. Hey, look at that, we didn't even ask. All you had to do was kill him. That was simple. Just making sure those spiders weren't following. And now we can use the den key. And in the iron chest, we have the engraved gauntlets. A very cool pair of gauntlets that have a chance of actually causing your attacks to actually land a critical hit, which would give you 1.5 times the damage. And this definitely affects melee, it affects bows and crossbows, and magic, supposedly it works, however it still needs some testing. And Pate is a jerk, so go ahead and roll away from that iron chest. It's not going to leave a nice scar, okay, because I didn't actually take any damage. And then he laughs. Anyway, 10 rusted coins. I guess that's supposed to be like a treasure chest of sorts, but Pate's a terrible person. So we are going to start the next route here. We're running over here just so we can get that one item that we had missed by accidentally falling down when we were killing the crystal lizard. That won't work. Just knock him off. We don't care about killing him, and we can get ourselves a Titanite Chunk. So definitely worth picking up. Do a small amount of backtracking here. We will spell snipe some of these enemies because we don't want them interfering with our item collecting. Hop down onto this balcony and be ready to take out the mage below. Hop down carefully again. We have a large Titanite Shard, and then you want to land on this platform. And inside this house is our second Estus Flash Shard for the area. Homeward Bone, and we are going to take on the fourth and final path through Brightstone Cove. This path could be one of the most important because this will actually unlock another bonfire down at the bottom of this room, so it cuts down just a little bit of the headache because you don't have to deal with quite as many enemies if you start from that one. With that Hollow Mage dead, and soon with this spider to be dead. If you thought the gutter was fun because it had a zip line, boy oh boy, are you gonna love Brightstone Cove, because it has two. They're very short though. Really unnecessary. Run into here, there will be two Hollow Mages, so I will open up with a spell right away so I can take out one. And again, start your cast before you actually see the item if you can anticipate where they're going to be. You can get the cast off, lock on using the lock on button before they have a chance to really notice you. Some lightning urns. And we will slide down this ladder. We have one more spider to kill, and then we have a free bonfire. Yeah, I knew there's nothing. It also gives you the ability to unlock this door, which if you try to open it from the other side, it is locked from this side. And this is how you open it. And that, for the most part, is Brightstone Cove Tseldora. So there are a number of items that you have to spend at least 4 attempts to get them all. I recommend you plan it out before, because if not, it'll take many more than 4. Trust me, when I was doing practice runs for this episode, it took me 6 or 7 in order to get everything. So this, I feel, is one of the most optimal routes. Now you can see a quick transition because I'm going to run over to Melentia and just show you that now that we've killed Creighton, we can get his chainmail, we can get his gloves, and we can get his leggings. If we'd killed Pate, some of his gear would be available, but we already have it. So that is going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's a longer episode, but all we have now is to kill the 4 great ones, and we can proceed through Dragonlake Castle and see what else the game has to offer. I'll catch you guys next time. Just kidding. Haha. Did I fool anyone? I didn't even fool myself, so probably not. So anyway, we're back in Brightstone Cove Tseldora, and we have a pig. Now, we are going to get an item called the pickaxe. It's not really a special item, but it is unique in Dark Souls 2 in that this is the only method you can actually use in order to get it. You have to get a pig to aggro on you, and you need to drag him all the way to the room that had all the spiders hiding in the ceiling right before the Duke's Dear Freya. Now there is a smaller pig that is slightly easier to get to the end, but it only has about a 1 in 1,000 chance of spawning in the camp that we actually rested at when we met Benhart of Jugo. However, any of the pigs will work. You just have to make sure that you stay within aggro distance, because if they get lost, especially once you start hopping down some of these ledges, you have to start all the way over. To make it easy, I did clear as much of the terrain as I could of enemies, but this pig has decided to troll me, and troll me hard in this area. Because I'm a caster, if I get tapped while I'm actually trying to cast, I'm not going to cast no more. By the way, I doubt you can see it because of how fast the video is going, but I do pick up a large Titanite Shard and a Smooth and Silky Stone during this run. Although the Smooth and Silky Stone actually comes from the pig that's following me, so I guess you will see that. Now in here, take out the enemies as fast as you can. You don't want them interfering with you in your pig protection. And once we kill that, we will go ahead and watch him munch on some mushrooms, and a shiny appears. So thank you so much, Piggy, but your services are no longer needed. We get ourselves a stone, and we get the pickaxe. So that is going to wrap up the episode. That is all the items that you can get before you actually kill Dear Freya in the Brightstone Cove Tseldora. Next time we take out the 4 great ones, I will catch you guys next time.